Welcome to the walkthrough for the frequently made mistakes I discovered when I reviewed Assignment 1B submissions. First and foremost, make sure to document all your code. Some people are writing various pieces of code and not documenting it, even though it's fairly subtle. Always make sure to document your code. Secondly, here's a problem left over from Assignment 1A. Don't use loops in the method implementations, but instead use various methods like system.arrayCopy. Here's another problem left over from Assignment 1A. Make sure you don't do the checks for null inside of the loop, but instead move them outside and then be able to do the loops more efficiently. Let's take a look down here. Please use more concise code to create the array iterator. You don't need to actually create a local variable, but you can go ahead and just say return new array iterator directly. Here's an incorrect implementation of the has-next comparison. It's not comparing things properly. It's not going to give the right result. I don't know how this could have passed the unit test, so make sure you run the unit test and fix any problems that you see. Here's another problem that some people have. Make sure you write your code more concisely. Don't say if condition, return true, else return false. Just say return and put the condition in. There's a number of problems with the next method. In the next method, make sure you don't include both has next check and call to get. Use one or the other. And in particular, make sure you don't use the get method in this way because it incurs unnecessary overhead, which has already been checked for by calling has next. We'll see a couple variations of this coming up as well. Also, try not to write the code in such a way that doesn't take advantage of existing functionality that already exists. So this code should either use has next or should use get, since both of those things can be used to check to see whether the value is in range. Here's the next method implementation. Again, don't use get and has next. Use one or the other. Either one is fine, but don't use both of them. It's overkill. Here's another problem. This is a very strange bug. This approach is calling get, which could throw an exception. And then there's a try-catch block, but there's actually no code inside the try-catch block. So, of course, that's not going to catch any exception that the get method might actually throw. So that's weird and wrong. Make sure that when you remove method for the iterator that you correctly update whatever field you use to keep track of the current position and whatever field you use to keep track of the last element to return. Make sure those are updated properly and removed. There's also a bunch of mistakes people have with replace all. First mistake that I saw a lot of people do, they actually applied the operator correctly, but they didn't store the result. So, of course, nothing would be replaced. Another couple things I saw people do. Don't use the get method. There's no need to do that because you shouldn't have to use get, since you're going to be doing this in such a way where you won't be indexing outside of the range. Also, don't use the set method. That does an unnecessary range check as well, just like get does. And of course, by all means, don't use both the set and the get methods. That's completely overkill and way too many extra checks here that are unnecessary. A couple more little problems with for each. Don't use an index-based for loop, but make sure you use a for each loop here instead of an index-based loop. And then if you use the for each loop, you don't need to create these extra local variables. That just makes your code a little bit more complicated and hard to understand. It's easy enough to do it without having that extra field. So those are the common mistakes I saw in this assignment. Most people did pretty well, but make sure you go through and address all of those problems. Thanks.